Hey, welcome to Pilot Boy, where I cover various topics on the pilot car industry. Here you're going to find the most information on the industry, and for those looking for step-by-step instructions, you can also gain access to the most in-depth course on the internet, and it comes with the mentorship program attached to it. So if this is the type of information you're looking for, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification so you can be notified when I drop content. I drop new content every Tuesday, so be sure to tune in. So today we're here to talk about equipment. Now equipment, it can be kind of a controversial subject because you got some that believe one way in certain equipment and some that believe in other ways. Bottom line is, at the end of the day, you just want to be compliant. The other thing with that is you just want to buy from the right place with the right prices, and that's going to get your equipment there as fast as possible. Now, I've been questioned by a few people as far as where to find this equipment because those people have said that they've looked through their city at various places, truck stops, etc., and they can't find everything they need. Bottom line is you're not going to find everything you need in your city. I doubt it anyway. I live in a pretty big city, and they don't have a store here that sells everything, and I can't find everything I'm looking for in the city. The typical thing we do in the industry is we order it. There are some suppliers out there that carry everything you need to do the job and to be compliant. So at the end of the day, you're gonna need to order your equipment for the most part. CB radio, of course, can be picked up at a truck stop, but the most of your equipment is gonna come from these online vendors. You wanna just make sure that you're going with the vendor that has the best shipping time and the best fees or rates attached to the equipment. Now let's get into the list itself. So to start off with, you're gonna need your lights. You got various kind of lights out here. Not all are compliant. Some are compliant combined with others. So you got your light bar, which covers basically the entire top of your vehicle. And then you got the light boxes that encase two strobes in there. And then you got your single strobes as well. Some are plug-in, but I don't advise that you operate like that. I advise that you get them wired because those things can, the lighter itself, the fuses in there, can blow out in the middle of you transporting because it's just too much going to it. So I advise getting wired. Next is your overhead sign, the oversized load sign that goes on top of your vehicle. And then you got the oversized load sign banners that go on the front and in the back of your vehicle. I know some of you may have noticed that some of the vehicles out there on the road, they have the overhead sign up top and some don't. That's because it's not required in some states. Some states you can just do the sign, some states you can just do the banners. It just depends on where you're operating and where you're wanting to operate at. But you're gonna need two banners, one in the front of the vehicle and one in the back of the vehicle. Or you're gonna need one overhead sign on top of your vehicle. Either way, one point I wanna make with the overhead sign, if you go to overhead sign route, make sure you get that thing set up to where it leans against the wind. It sets up for better fuel mileage with the wind going against you and everything. Next is the flags. The flags, you gotta have two flags at a 45-degree angle sticking out right around where the windows, your driver and passenger side windows are at. And you wanna have a couple flags, one or two flags that are just in your truck for traffic directing and stopping traffic as well. You got a couple different types of flags out there. You got the easy mounts that you just basically spring in and they're stuck and they're ready, you're ready to go. Then you got the other flags that slide into the mount and you have to twist them on and twist them off. Next, you're gonna need your stack of cones. These cones, some choose to get the cones that are striped with the fluorescent reflection. I like those myself, and some choose to get the cones that are just plain orange cones. The sizes vary a little bit, with a couple states requiring some cones that are a little bit bigger than standard. Most escorts tend to go with the bigger cones to make sure that they're compliant everywhere, and some just get the basic cones and just stay away from the states that require those bigger cones. But it's pretty much up to you. But you're gonna need your stack of cones as well to be compliant. And these cones I'm talking about 30-inch cones and the 45-inch cones. You got a couple states that require those 45-inch cones, and so some drivers are independent drivers. They tend to get the 45-inch, and so they don't have to worry about being compliant in this state versus that state. The 45s, you're compliant everywhere. Then you got the CB radio. This is up to you as far as which radio you choose. Most of them are pretty compatible. You got some that are a little bit cheap, the $50 and $40 radios. I don't recommend. You're gonna spend about $80 to $100, a little bit more on a good radio out there. But you basically just need something with all the channels and that can adjust and has good reach, because one thing, if you're a lead, you're gonna be far in front of the truck, and you need to have a strong radio that can reach back there to them. That ties into the antenna as well. That's a part of what you're gonna need as well with the radio, is you want your strong antenna so that you can have good reach, great reach when you're trying to communicate on that radio to that driver, because that's a huge piece of doing the job. If you lose communication, you're basically worthless to that driver. So you want to make sure that your radio is good, dependable, strong pieces of equipment. Next, you're gonna need your first aid kit. First aid kit could be a basic kit with the basic band-aids, etc. in it. You can find these kits at the local store. I think they got them at Walmart, matter of fact. You just need your basic first aid kit, nothing special or fancy about it. It's just a piece of equipment that they require escorts to have on hand in case of any accidents. Next, you're gonna need you a fire extinguisher as well. Some go with the 5, some go with the 10-pound, but you just need a fire extinguisher as well. That's just something that, again, is required of us to have while we're out there, along with that first aid kit. You're also gonna need you a set of emergency triangles, and you're gonna need flares out there. These all safety measures that are required. So in case of any accidents, any emergencies out there, they want you as an escort to be prepared for anything that goes on out there. So the first aid kit, the fire extinguisher, flares, emergency triangles, and the cones as well. The cones are used a little bit differently, but they can be used for emergency as well. But those things are emergency pieces, or safety pieces that they want you to have in case of any emergency out there. I want you to be prepared. So these are some things that you may not use ever, but they want to make sure that you have them, and you want to make sure that you have them in case you do need them one day. Now, there's a few other things that some escorts tend to get. You got two-way radios. Those are needed sometimes. It just depends on the job that you're doing out there. And I go a little bit more into depth into that in course. You got some escorts that like to put lights all through their grills and whatnot, and be really lit up while they're out there, and there's nothing wrong with that. You become more visible the more lights that you have, which is good, because you got drivers out there that act like they can't see your lights, see that there's caution around this load. So some drivers like to be lit up as much as possible, and like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. However, you don't have to do that to be compliant, but those are some extra measures out there, and some extra things you can do, or other pieces of equipment that you can get just to make your job easier, or to be more visible, and etc. Now, with that all being said, there are some shortcuts out there that you can take that will allow you to still be compliant after taking those shortcuts. I think almost every industry has some type of shortcuts. These shortcuts here will allow you to spend less money as far as your startup, and maybe you can invest in the other equipment later on down the line as you build your clientele, or as you start making money. As far as the overhead sign, for instance, some escorts tend to build their own signs once they figure out how they're made or what they need to look like. I built my first 3 signs for my first 3 vehicles myself before I actually started purchasing the overhead signs. But again, those signs aren't needed in every state. But I break all that down and go a little bit more in depth in all that inside the course, and also speak on who the preferred vendors are in the industry. Other words, who most of the escorts in this industry buy from and who I buy from myself. I speak about all that in the course. In that course, you're going to get all the information you need to become someone that is knowledgeable, fully competent, and confident that they know how to do the job, know what the equipment to get, know how to be compliant, fully prepared with a stack of contacts to get you rolling. So at the end of the course, like I always say, you'll be ready to roll with contacts and all the knowledge you need to get going and be successful out there. And as I always mention as well, I'm here for you to mentor you. Every student has my personal cell phone number at the end of the course. So regardless of what you run up against after the course, I'm there with you to get you through it. This is the part where I like to ask you to drop in the comments and let me know what industry you're coming from, what has you interested in the pilot car industry. And also you can drop down there, let me know what videos you want to see me do next, and I'll try to put those videos on the list. Also, don't forget to like, share, and I'm gonna see you guys on the next one.